Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Alhamdulillah wa sallallahu ala Sayyidina Muhammad wa ala alihi wa sahbihi wa sallam. I was once, this is about 6 years ago, I was once attending a lecture in the masjid, and the sheikh or the guy who was talking, he was talking about dua, making dua, right? And he was talking about sincerity in dua, and if you are so sincere in your dua, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will accept. And if you're not sincere and you just make it, you know, like when we do a lot of dua but we don't think about it, this is a dua without sincerity, right? Then Allah might not accept you if you do it without sincerity. But a sincere dua will be accepted for sure, inshallah. طيب? فخلاص, fine. I finished the lecture, I went home, I was having dinner with my parents, and they brought up this problem we had in the house. We had a problem for a long time. At that time, we had it for 11 years. So what was the problem? The problem is my dad is a civil engineer, and he built one building with 6 stories, but the 6th story, he built it without getting the license from the government. And then they come up with a new law that you cannot build except if you get the license first. So my dad went to the government and he tried to convince them that he built this story before this law come out, right? But bureaucracy, in Egypt, things aren't that easy. So it took him very, very long time to prove it, and even though he couldn't prove it. So what happened is, they asked him, we need to take a sample from the concrete. So they came to the building and they took a sample from the concrete, trying to prove this. And for 11 years, this case has been in court. So every other week, my dad has to go to the court to attend whatever, and it's been very, very long headache, right? So we were having dinner, and my dad and my mom were talking about this. So it just came to my mind, this lecture that I was attending. So I told them, what about we make dua with sincerity that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in this terrible problem for us. And this, I forgot to mention this. This story, my dad built it for my brother to get married. So my brother, his apartment was without electricity, without water, just because the government didn't give us the license, right? So so now my brother wants to get married, but his apartment is stuck. So I told my parents, why don't we just make sincere dua that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala end this problem in the family on Sunday. So my dad said, why Sunday? I said, let's make it Monday. I don't care, but it's just any day, right? So, and I told them about what happened. I told them I was attending this lecture and so on. So they said, fine, let's do this. We called my sister in Canada. We called my brother, he was in Canada too. We called my other sister here in Houston. And we informed the whole family that all of the family are going to do a concentrated dua with sincerity. And what's sincerity? Sincerity means that you believe and you trust that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will accept. So if you have this doubt that Allah may accept and may not, then Allah may not accept you. But if you're sincere and you're sure that as long as you make dua, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala accepts your dua, then Allah will accept. So we just informed the whole family to do so. So that was Wednesday, and we start looking for all the blessed times that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is more likely accepting the dua in them. So for instance, the last third of the night, is if someone makes dua in the last third of the night, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is more likely accepting his dua, right? During Friday, when the Imam is going up the minbar, before Maghrib, in Friday, the last hour before Maghrib, like these are the blessed times that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala accepts our dua in them. So we all concentrated and we were trying to catch all these times to make dua. So Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, all the family all over the world are making concentrated dua with sincerity that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala ends this. Right? And what happened is on Sunday in the morning, my dad got dressed. He wore a suit and he was going out. Where he's going, he doesn't know. But we are expecting this issue to end today. Right? So he went to the city hall and he spoke to the lady, actually same lady for the last 11 years. And he was like, what's up with my papers? And she said, nothing changed. Your papers, everything is the same. He said, fine, thank you. And he was about to leave and she said, wait a second. Are you Professor Fakhry Abu Layla? He said, yes. She said, subhanallah, the minister just signed off your papers. That's it. Done. This problem was solved forever on Sunday. That's exactly what happened to my family. That's exactly what happened. Forever. After 11 years of struggle. And now I understood in the hadith that the Nabi sallallahu alayhi wa sallam said, أنا عند ظن عبدي بي فليظن عبدي ما شاء. That Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will be responding to your expectations. So if you are expecting that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala accepts your dua, then Allah accepts your dua. But if you are expecting that Allah does not accept your dua, that means what? That means you believe that Allah is not generous. If you think that Allah doesn't accept your dua, you think that Allah is not generous, right? So Allah will not accept your dua if you believe in this. There was a very, very famous scholar. His name is Al-Hasan al-Basri, right? And Al-Hasan al-Basri used to live in Iraq. طيب. Once Al-Hasan al-Basri, in his town, they didn't have rain. They didn't have rain for a long time. And this is, what was it? Drought? Jafaf, now. Drought, okay. So yeah, that was drought. So they didn't have rain for a long time. Drought. And you guys know in these countries, if it doesn't rain, the sheep, the camels, they're all thirsty and there isn't much food for them, right? So they didn't really know what to do. So the caliph, went to Al-Hasan al-Basri, since he was like a very big, famous scholar. And he told him, Ya Imam, make dua for us. Why don't you make dua for us that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala give us the rain? So he said, Hadir, fine, I will. So before the caliph went to Hasan al-Basri, they prayed Salat al-Istisqa. And you guys know when it's time of drought, there's one of the sunnah is that the Muslims go out and they pray in the streets for Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to send rain for them. So the caliph and all the Muslims, they did Salat al-Istisqa, but they didn't get rain. So the caliph went to Al-Hasan al-Basri and he asked him to make dua for them, right? So Al-Hasan al-Basri, when the night came, he went to the famous big mosque of Baghdad, and he went inside the masjid. He prayed few rak'at of tahajjud, qiyam al-layl, and then he raised his hand to the sky, and he started asking Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to send the rain. So, oh Allah, give us rain, oh Allah, send us rain. And while Al-Hasan al-Basri, this famous scholar, is doing this, another man walked in the masjid and he prayed and he said, Sami Allahu liman hamida. He raised his hand and he said, أقسمت عليك يا رب أن تنزل المطر الآن. He said, oh Allah, I swear by your name on you. Is that correct translation? Okay. to give us rain now. So he's swearing on Allah, right? As if he's telling him some sort of, it's not an order, but like a question, right? Oh Allah, give us rain now. And Hassan Basri start hearing drops outside and start raining. The guy finished. Assalamu alaikum, and he left. Hassan Basri couldn't believe it. Oh, who is that man? How did he do this? I am the most famous scholar, and I've been making dua the whole night and nothing happened. But this simple man, he came in. So Hassan Basri left the prayer and he started walking after him, trying to see, like, to figure out who is this. So that this man went all the way to the house of the caliph, to the house of the president, and he walked in. So Hassan Basri realized he's one of the servants, right? He's a poor man. He works as a servant for the caliph. So the second day, now the caliph thinks, why did they get the rain? Because of who? Now the caliph thinks, why did they get the rain? Because of Hassan Basri, right? He doesn't know about this servant. He thought Hassan Basri made dua and now they got the rain. So second day, Hassan Basri went to the house of the caliph, and once he stepped in, everyone like welcomed and stood up for him, and they were welcoming him in. And he said, "Ya jazakumullah khair, but I just have I need you to do me a favor." He said, "Absolutely, go ahead." He said, "Do you have a servant that looks?" And he started describing him. He said, "Yes." He said, "Can I talk to him?" "Sure." And he's like, Call this servant for me. So they called him. So he came, Hassan al-Basri, Imamna, how are you? And he shook his hand. He's like, how can I help you? Hassan al-Basri said, can we talk a little bit on the side? Fine. So he told him, last night, I was in the mosque, praying, making dua, and you walked in, and you made just one dua, and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala accepted your dua immediately, and it started raining. How do you do this? The servant looked at the sky, and he said, Rabbi, قد كشف الذي بيننا فاقبضني الآن فمات. He said, Rabbi, the secret between me and you is no longer a secret. Please take my soul now. Let me die now. And the guy died. The story ends here, and the secret of this guy would remain a secret forever. Oh. But let me explain this to you. I didn't understand this story until I heard the Prophet Muhammad ﷺ in one hadith. He's saying, رب أشعث أغبر ذو طمرين مدفوع بالأبواب لو أقسم على الله لأبره. رب أشعث means like he has like long hair that he doesn't take good care of it. Which is, messy hair. Which is a sign for like being poor. أغبر means the ghubar, the dust, is like covering him. ذو طمرين, يعني his clothes are broken. مدفوع بالأبواب, which means like if he come and knock on your door, you open, you find this poor man, you shut the door in his face. That's what مدفوع بالأبواب means. لو أقسم على الله لأبره. That if he asks Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala anything, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala just give it to him. Just give it to him. A guy, a very famous scholar, his name is Ibrahim ibn Adham, and this guy was Egyptian. Okay? Back in his time, two things. First thing, when they travel, they don't have airplanes. So if he wants to go make Umrah in Kaaba, he has to travel for a month or something, right? The second thing, people didn't have TVs, so they didn't no faces. So maybe everyone among the Muslims knows about this famous guy, but they have never seen him before. Right? So Ibrahim ibn Adham once decided to go make Umrah. So he made Umrah, and then he traveled to Al-Medina, visiting the masjid of Nabi sallallahu alayhi wasallam. You guys don't say sallallahu alayhi wasallam at all?
Sallallahu alayhi wasallam. Yeah, I said the Imam
Very
said in
good.
khutbah 2 days ago.
Yeah. So he went to visit Nabi sallallahu alayhi wasallam's masjid. After Salat al-Isha, they wanted to close the masjid. All right? And he was in and traveling all the way, and he doesn't have a hotel or anything to stay. So he was actually planning to stay in the masjid. So the soldiers who were like protecting the masjid and all this, they came to him and was like, who are you? He said, I'm a traveler. He said, all right, it's time to close the masjid, get out. I was like, guys, I'm coming from far away. Can I just sleep in the masjid? They said, no, you have to leave. He said, okay, close the doors and lock me in. If you are afraid that I might steal stuff, just close the doors, lock me in. And come in the Fajr, you'll find me. They said, all the thieves say this. We lock them in and then they find a way to steal stuff from the masjid and jump from the window or so. He said, get out. It's like, guys, haram alaykum. He said, you know what? You don't want to listen? Excuse me. So he pulled him like this. Jarjaru. Pulled his legs all the way
It's an Imam.
out of the masjid. They don't know him, right? And it was so cold. This night was so cold. So once he stepped out of the masjid and he was walking in the cold, there was a bakery, a guy who bakes like some bread. So he has the, what's forn?
Oven.
Oven. دي معروفة دي. Okay. فالمهم this bakery. So the guy was baking some bread. So he saw Ibrahim. He doesn't know who is this guy. He said, "Al-rajulu gharib. You look stranger. Why don't you come sit next to me? Like just get the warmth of the fire." It's fine. So he sat next to him. So Ibrahim Adham, the big scholar, is now in the street just sitting next to the bakery place, getting some heat from the fire. And he was watching the guy who's baking. So the guy is like, Bismillah. He makes the bread and he drops it in the oven and says, Alhamdulillah. He's like, Bismillah, Alhamdulillah. Bismillah, Alhamdulillah, all the night. So Ibrahim Adham said, I'll teach him a little bit. He doesn't know nothing but Bismillah, Alhamdulillah. What's wrong with this guy? He's like, hey man, you don't know nothing but Bismillah, Alhamdulillah? He said, yeah. Since 20 years, I've been baking here, saying Bismillah, Alhamdulillah. Bismillah, Alhamdulillah. And he said, and what did you get out of it? I mean, what happened to you? Like, why do you keep repeating this? He said, I have been, for the last 20 years, I have never asked Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala for anything, but Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gave it to me, except for one dua. He said, what? He said, I've been making dua the last 20 years that I meet this famous scholar Ibrahim Adham. Oh. And I have never met him. So that's the only dua that Allah never accepted. So he told him, you know, you are better than Ibrahim Adham. He said, Astaghfirullah, what are you saying? I am a poor man who does bakery. How do you compare me with Ibrahim Adham? He said, because of your dua, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala brought me jarjara. They pulled me to you. I didn't even walk in here. Just because of your dua that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala accepted, but maybe a little bit later on. And that's a good thing to bring here. When we make dua, sometimes we make dua and we expect Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to answer our dua immediately, right? So for instance, someone is, he has a Chevy car, old one, 2001, right? And it's parking in the parking lot. And before going to his car, he makes 2 rak'at and he's like, oh Allah, please make my Chevy BMW 2013. With the sunroof and nice cassette or something. And then he walks in the parking lot and he doesn't find anything changed. He's like, what's up, God? nothing changed. Why? No. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala promised us that when we make dua, Allah will accept our dua. Right? But Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala knows what is best for us. So you may ask for something that's not the best for you. What do you want? Would you like Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to give it to you but harm you? Or to delay it and give you something else but benefit you? Right? I'll just give you an example. Maybe if Allah accepted my dua and brought this man the BMW, maybe he was going to take it, make an accident and die. Right? What's better? To give him the BMW or to delay this thing for him or to give him something else instead? So when we make dua, we have no option but Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala accept it. If you do a sincere dua, Allah will accept your dua. Right? But you have to understand this, that Allah will accept your dua in the time that Allah knows is the best for you, not in the time that you think is the best for you. Why? Because we don't know what's going to happen tomorrow. But Allah knows, right? So Allah exactly knows if He gives you this thing, it might harm you. It might not be the best for you. He might be saving something better for you. Right? So He whether gives it to you immediately, that's like what happened to me and my family. Allah solved it for us on Sunday. Right? He might give it to you immediately, like the man who made dua that Allah gives the rain down. Right? And Allah might delay the answer for some wisdom that Allah knows about. Naam ya Adnan.
So, I just wanted to know, if Allah knows best for you, how come some people, wal'iyadu billah, if they don't get what they want, or if they get something and like that looks worse but is actually better for them, they blame it all on Allah and they say He's not fair, He's not nice, and He's saving the better for them. Like why are they so like why do they take such a rush? I mean, you shouldn't. First of all, you shouldn't blame Allah. Second of all, you don't know the wisdom behind the thing. So I want to know why many people do that.
Simply because they are unfortunately ignorant about, they don't understand Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala well. If they understand what you just said, they wouldn't have rushed the answer. Right? And Nabi sallallahu alayhi wa sallam said, يُسْتَجَابُ لِأَحَدِكُمْ مَا لَمْ يَسْتَحْسِرْ, that Allah will accept your dua unless you're like in a rush. If you don't give up. If you give up, Allah will not accept you. Right? Naam ya Maryam. Naam, making dua in the rain is a blessed time that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala accepts the dua in. طيب, let's do this quick last part of the lecture. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said, وَإِذَا سَأَلَكَ عِبَادِي عَنِّي, and when my slaves ask you about me, فَإِنِّي قَرِيب, I'm very close. Okay. Just imagine some of you guys went in a trip, right? Could your dad say, if my son return back, I will give him this? Or he says, when my son comes back?
If? When?
Why when, why if? So why when?
Because when he knows.
No, Hamza, please. Exactly. If is hopeless. If, which means like he might come. If my son come back, which means he might not come. So when Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala spoke about this, he said a when. When, which encourages you to make dua. When my slaves ask you about me, فإني قريب. I am close. بعمل إيه بقى؟ أجيب دعوة الداعي إذا دعان. I accept the call if they call me, when they call me, right? Which means that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is giving you this indication that all you have to do is make dua. Allah is encouraging you to make dua whenever you need anything, before asking anyone. The first option should be making dua, even before we talk to our parents, right? And Allah will accept. And part of this acceptance is making your parents give you what you want. طيب, what should we do to be among those that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala accept their dua? Does anyone know? نعم عدنان.
We should be virtuous and kind to people, and we should also be kind to Allah and to animals and to ourselves.
Good.
And so, yeah.
So we should be good to basically everything around us. What else? Does anyone know? Jamus. I don't hear that. Okay. Good. What else? Oh man, you were not listening, huh? What's the first thing would make Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala accept your dua? Omar. Sincerity. The first thing the first essential thing in making dua is sincerity. What sincerity means?
That you know Allah.
That you know that Allah will accept you. If you have doubts, Allah will not accept. But if you know for sure that Allah is accepting your dua, that's the most important thing. The second thing, from what we also mentioned, is what? I didn't hear. Not giving up, being patient. Perfect. Being patient. Don't make dua for a day or two and say, Allah didn't accept. No. Allah loves to hear your voice. So keep going. Keep making dua. Don't just give up. If you give up, Allah will not accept. If you keep going, Allah will definitely accept. What else, Yumna? Sheikha din, Sheikha. Allah alayk. We should make sure that all what we eat is halal, and halal here doesn't mean like the meat is it halal or no. But even our money and everything is pure, which means if you not you, but if someone steals money, and this money he bought some food and he ate it, now Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will not accept his dua. This is a condition that Allah will not accept your dua if someone is like stealing or cheating or getting like bribes gambling or something is haram, and he's been fed from this money. Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam قال الرجل يطيل السفر, that he's been traveling for a long time. أشعث أغبر, same thing. Messy hair, has dust on him. يبسط يده إلى السماء يقول يا رب يا رب, and he makes dua and he says يا رب يا رب.
Yeah, I know this.
ولكن مطعمه حرام. When he eats from haram. وملبسه حرام, and he wears clothes that he bought from haram money. وغذي بالحرام, and he's been eating haram stuff. فأنا يستجاب له. How would Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala accept a dua from a person like this? Right? نعم. Oh, Jannah, you raise your hand? Sorry. After her.
What if somebody donated stolen money to someone and then they use it to buy food and then they eat the food?
Awesome. Perfect question. If you are a poor person and some rich man came and donated money to you, but you didn't know that this money was stolen, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will not charge you for this.
Of course.
Yeah. Any question? Okay. Last 2 points. استحضر قلبك that when you make dua, think about it. Don't just repeat memorized ad'iyah that you keep saying in your salah. Allahumma aghfirli, Allahumma samihni, Allah forgive me. No, when you make dua, think about it. Think about what you say. نعم ياسمين.
Oh yeah.
I know what?
Robin Hood. That's what I was thinking about.
Robin Hood is a brand or a food?
No.
Story.
It's a movie. Yeah.
Ah, okay.
Elva.
Is that like, is that good? Like, I mean, if the people, I mean, because I know it's stealing, but you're giving it to people who more deserve it, so is that bad?
Absolutely, that's bad.
Like the rich.
Stealing at the first place is something major sin in Islam. You can't steal whatsoever. Whether you have a good cause, bad cause, it doesn't make any difference. Yeah, if someone steals and give it to poor people, I probably assume that he takes the sin of stealing by itself, but it's still a big sin, right? But if someone steals to buy himself and being greedy as well, then he gets double sins, right? Okay. نعم عمورة.
What if like an owner of a house like tells his friend to steal from his house? Is that okay?
Oh, he's allowing them though. This is not stealing. If he owns something and he tells people to take from it, that's fine. So last two things. When we make dua, we try to make dua in the blessed times that Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam told us about. So there are blessed times that we should be making dua on them. I mentioned earlier when is like a good time to make dua. Naam Hamza. Eh? In the rain, okay. When else? Before Maghrib and Friday, and when the Sheikh is up the member. Naam.
When you get sick.
When you get sick because you're weak and you're more in need to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Omar? Sorry? The last third of the night. Perfect. What else? What else?
When you're traveling.
When you're traveling. Perfect. When you're traveling, you're likely to be mustajab al-da'wah, that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala accepts the dua of the traveler. So remember, whenever you're traveling, make dua for me. Naam Amina.
If you're traveling or you're sick or unwilling and your dua is not sincere, it's still
Sincerity is essential.
What was the question?
If it's raining but you're not sincere in your dua. Okay, yes?
Does your dua always have to be sincere for it to be accepted?
Yes.
It has to be. Sometimes it's not sincere, but it still happens.
Okay, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is the most generous. So if He accepts your dua, and you are not sincere, that could happen. But the general rules, if you are sincere, Allah accepts your dua. This is what we are sure about. If you're not sincere, it might happen, it might not. Okay, so, yes?
I'm not sure if you said this already, but can you make that when like you break your fast?
Oh, that's good. That's one of the best times to make dua when it's time to break your fast. The Nabi sallallahu alayhi wa sallam قال للصائم دعوة مستجابة. نعم. مريم? Well, if I understand the question correctly, if someone steals your money and then you sneak to get your money back, is that almost what you said? If it's your money, then it's your money. This is not stealing. This is returning your right. Yomna?
Aren't you also supposed to
Allah. Sheikh, قلت لكم. Between between adhan and iqama is a time of making dua. During the month of Ramadan, during the day of Arafah, you guys forgot all this?
No, I didn't
Yes?
forget it.
I said fasting
Saved
for
it
the
in
Yasmin?
my memory.
I already pictured memories.
Every time you make dua for someone else, that Allah sends an angel that says, and for you too, and for you too.
Allah. Very, very good point. No. When you make dua for someone else, no, I'll mention it. When you make dua for someone else, so just for instance, Nibras is making dua for me tonight. صح يا Nibras? Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala sends an angel to make dua for Nibras and say وَلَكَ مِثْلِ مَا قُلْت, and the same for you. And they say Ameen to you. Thanks Nibras. Thanks for making dua for me tonight. Shihab mentioned Laylat al-Qadr. Very good in Laylat al-Qadr, which is the last odd nights of the last 10 of Ramadan.
10
Sakina.
nights of Ramadan are back.
In sujood, very good Sakina. The closest point you are to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is when you are in the sujood position. Yasmin Sarhan. Hadi.
They took the two that I was going to say my God together. They took both of them.
طيب Jannah.
When you were saying that we can't repeat dua, what if we, like, for instance, I say dua, like, for my sister, I say the same thing?
You can repeat as many as you want, but you have to not to just saying with your tongue. Think about it when you say it. Yeah, you can repeat as many as you want.
Okay.
Even if you know you remember Bismillah, Alhamdulillah, just one single thing. But you think about it, you feel it. You don't just saying, Allahumma shfi, Allahumma, you know? Yes.
So what if a person steals money from someone and after years they never use that money, but then they found out that the person they stole the money from died, and before that person died, after the person died, the person who stole it wanted to give the money back. Then
So he wanted to give the money back,
but it already died.
but he already died.
Yeah.
How he want to give it back though?
No, like
He'll
before
give it
he
to his
died,
family.
but then he died
Give it to
after.
his family.
The person who he stole it from died.
If he has
Oh yeah, he can give it to their family. Okay.
But will
طيب, last thing. So we mentioned الأوقات. نعم أميرة. Allah. Sheikha برضو. So there are some manners in making dua. Can you mention one of them? Okay, this is recommended to have wudu, but it's not a must. Yes. Yes, Yasmin. Again, it's recommended, it's not a must. حبيبي ممكن ترجعوا كده؟
You can't be lying down unless you have to, but you should be sitting up in a proper.
Okay. You still, this is recommended, yeah, Yasmin. This is just recommended, but you still can do it. نعم نعم.
You have to make sure that you're wearing something because
Yeah.
if you're under a shower and you make dua, it's unlikely.
Okay. Aya? Facing al-Qibla. Again, it's recommended. It's not a must. نعم. لا هو كل ده it's good. It's good manner. يعني it's good stuff. يعني what the Nabi صلى الله عليه وسلم used to do is starting by ثناء على الله. When he starts making dua, he praises Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, glorifying him before he starts. So he says, اللهم إنا نسألك بأننا نشهد أنك أنت الله الأحد الصمد الذي لم يلد ولم يولد ويكن له كفوا أحد. And he starts يا حنان ويا منان. He starts making ثناء على Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala before he make his dua. And the last thing, raising your hands up. And sometimes the Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam, just from like how passionate he was when he was making dua, used to raise his hands very, very high. Very high like this. So raising your hand shows how poor you are between the hands of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So as we said, we should have sincerity we should it's time to sleep.
Thank you.